special thanks to Clayton. Thank you for being my first Patreon member, and I hope to see you more and more in the future. Thanks, my friend.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And Leslie, how do you feel?
Am I gay? Yes.
Well, no, I know you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point?
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay. Because nerds are gay. Because nerds are gay.
I can't do it anymore. No. Sorry, no more. Good day, ladies and gents, my name is Chausha and I'm disgusting. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, about my background, because it's going to be relevant for this video. I was born in 1990 in Eastern Europe. This was right after the Iron Curtain fell and the socialist regime ended and everything was West-oriented, and we had freedom, we had the upcoming and newly found democracy, and we had most of all Western entertainment flooding into our country. So you can imagine that I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I started receiving my first VHS tapes, which contained a lot of things that were available in the Western countries way before that. Terminator 1, Robocop movies, the Rocky movies, the Power Ranger movies, everything, and some of the best sci-fi shows, and most notably the 4th, 5th and 6th episode of Star Wars. I watched the original Star Wars trilogy when I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old, and it was one of the most amazing things that I have ever watched in my life. It was everything that a mind could think of at the time, at least so I thought. It had lasers, lightsabers, space battles, everything. It had amazing characters that you can actually get behind to, even though I didn't exactly think like that when I was at such a young age. And when I was watching them later for the 50th or 60th time, I could already see just how genius in terms of acting, in terms of plot, in terms of development on the characters, on everything was actually achieved in that time by George Lucas. And then we received the prequel trilogy, and unlike a lot of people, I actually liked it, because I actually watched it when I was pretty young, and I caught especially episode 1, which in my opinion has the best lightsaber battle up to this point in Star Wars history. And I watched the story and I was interested to see how Darth Vader came to be, how Anakin Skywalker turned evil, and etc. And even though I know and I realize why a lot of people don't like it or don't like certain parts of that trilogy, I know why I liked it. And it was because it was still Star Wars in every sense of the word. Yeah, it might not be as good as the original trilogy and might have some moments that a lot of people would point out that were not actually good, but it was still Star Wars. Which brings me to today's topic, and you see the name of the video, and I want to just make it absolutely clear. I have not watched The Acolyte, and I will not watch The Acolyte. I will never watch The Acolyte. And the video is named like that because I've watched enough of what was shown about The Acolyte and what was told, and not by movie critics. No, not about those right-wingers, those racist and those bigots, whatever you wanna call them, but by the showrunners themselves and by the actress, the lead actress that actually said...
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Just kill me already. What I want to talk about today is how The Acolyte is probably the final nail for not me, but a lot of people. And by a lot, I think a very huge percentage of the entire Star Wars universe fanbase. Now, before we continue, I just want to point out that they were actually bragging that Star Wars The Acolyte received a 4.8 million viewer attendance on their premiere. And while 4.8 million people as a number is very high, it's nothing in the Star Wars universe. Keep in mind, Star Wars is one of the biggest, if not the biggest sci-fi and fan base in the world. 4.8 million people is something like a large city, and you have people from all over the globe, from almost every single country in the world, that are fans, that like the show, that enjoy everything that is Star Wars up until a certain point. 4.8 million is actually very, very low when you consider that it is a Star Wars. If you have to boast that 4.8 million out of probably at least 2 or 3 billion people worldwide have watched the premiere of your newest show, that's actually very low in numbers, especially considering the $180 million budget that went into that show. But I'm not going to talk about the show and the plot and everything that has been said, that has been revealed, that has been shown up until this point. I just want to give my opinion about Star Wars as a whole. And my opinion as Star Wars as a whole is that Star Wars is dead. It has been dead for quite a while. It did have some moving limbs in the latest of times with The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 and probably Rogue One. Was it Rogue One? I don't even care, because I'm actually guilty of being sucked into the new sequel trilogy, and I actually enjoyed Episode 7. But keep in mind, I enjoyed it purely for the visual spectacle and for the effects and for the chance to see something new and grand in terms of Star Wars, because before Episode 7 we didn't have anything substantial to look forward to. Yes, we had some games, yes, we had some shows, animated shows, yes, we did that, but we didn't have a grand movie. And yeah, I liked it. Afterwards, not so much, and by the third movie I didn't even had the nerve to watch it all, because it was clear at that point that the wokeness, that absolutely deplorable virus that has obsessed so many people's minds, has started to seep into every corner of entertainment, which actually led me to think about how does that happen? How does an entire franchise that was built on the fan base, on billions of fans, that was generating more money than I can actually imagine, would steep to the woke virus, and especially after all those years, after 2017, would actually still continue to put out these idiotic TV series and these inserted forced messages, these woke propaganda series that they serve nobody substantial likes them. There's just a few number of confused, in my opinion, people that actually cheer when they see something like that, only because they're too brainwashed, again in my opinion, to actually think from themselves and to be a little more present of a backbone, if you will. And then I started thinking, if franchises like that can actually put out more and more shitty product and not go bankrupt for such a long time, then they would have to have a substantial financing for these things. And that's when I saw several articles for a certain anti-white crystallized mineral matter incorporated and all of its subsidiaries and partners that were funding such franchises, and going out in public to say that they're actually into the business of moderating language and telling people what is okay to talk about. And that led me to believe that these companies have a great stake in enforcing that language and continuing the woke mindset across all of Hollywood and all of entertainment, in gaming, in TV series, in movies, in whatever you can actually think about, in whatever impacts your life on a daily basis. So in order to have such funding, that would mean that you would need to have a plan, a big plan, a continuous plan, because when you have so much money that you have made from years of your other activities, you're not someone who is stupid, or at least stupid in a way that will not make them money. So this means that this investment and these monies that are being poured into the companies, into the franchises, into the entertainment industry, are all calculated losses, because while the fans don't watch, don't like, don't play the products that are being shipped to them, which are infused with that woke propaganda, the money still pour in to make more and more products. So you have financial losses in the millions, in the hundreds of millions, but you still have enough money to make more products for the future. And while these people that run these shows, the directors, the actors that play them, and they're probably told to say certain stuff on camera and on certain shows,
Because nerds are gay.
I don't believe for 1 minute that most of these directors, writers, web designers, graphic designers, artists, whatever you can think of, have that mindset when they're doing their dream job. I think they're actually being convinced to do that and to be paid a handsome amount of money. Now, these are only my assumptions, and I'm not saying they're true. Probably not, probably yes, I don't know. However, it seems rather suspicious to me that so much money can be poured in and be continued to be poured in without a company going bankrupt. So I started thinking, what is the end game? If these people are not that dumb, if these people are not that stupid to be blind to this virus and just pretend to be, or just say what they have to say to continue and imposing that mindset, what is the end game? The end game is that when they take over every part of entertainment and infuse everything with their mindset, then that's going to be the only thing left. And people like me, people like a lot of people my age and a bit older, will eventually either abandon it, and new people that will not grow up with what we grew up will just blindly accept it, and that's actually going to spin the wheels and into changing the mindset outside of entertainment. Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, whatever you want to call it, but at this point I just don't see what anything else can be, because if I am to assume that these directors are actually what they present themselves to be on camera, that would mean that they do not have any clue what they're doing. And while it's true that they're inexperienced, they haven't had any prior experience with producing movies or directing big TV shows and whatever, they still do need to have the common sense that what they're doing is for profit. And when you don't have profit, it stands to suggest that you're incompetent in your job. And yet a lot of these directors are still on their jobs. And I think that the best explanation was presented to us in South Park, which is,
put a chick in it, make her gay!
And everything is going to be like that. Everything will have a chick in it, and it's going to be lame. I truly want to be wrong about this, and if I am, this will be absolutely amazing, because that would just mean that you have stupid people, and stupid people eventually fail irreversibly, and better people take their place. And I hate to see what is happening to Star Wars. I hate to see what is happening with the Acolyte, because the Acolyte could have been an amazing story. I'm sure of it. Star Wars is a universe that can be continuously expanded as long as you keep true to the source material. I was actually waiting for years to have the Jedi Academy game made into a TV show or a movie with Kyle Katarn, with Luke Skywalker, with Jaden. This was a dream, because this is one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time, and it was a perfect continuation after episode 6. And when you had the Jedi Academy in the sequel trilogy, I was hopeful that they're going to be truthful to this source material and they'll make the Jedi Academy a thing. And when they did, it was perverted. It was a perverted version, and it was an absolute disgrace to see what they have done with that source material and how they twisted it in the most vile way possible. And now they're doing the same with the core of Star Wars, the Force, the Jedi. You have lesbian cults, you have pronouns, you have gay R2-D2 and C-3PO as supposedly confirmed by the showrunners of the Acolyte.
And are you telling me with a straight face that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
And I'm thinking, okay, do we need to know that? Do we need that? What's the next? We're going to see C-3PO and R2-D2 just rubbing their USB ports one of each other? Probably. I don't want to give you any ideas. Don't steal it, please. And it's sad. The Acolyte is an absolute disaster. You can see it. You can see it with the reviews. You can see it with the Rotten Tomato scores. You can see it with everyone. And you always have people who say those are just bigots and those are just racist. And I will actually agree with Ewan McGregor when he said,
"There's no place for racism in this world."
Because it's true, you don't need to accept and you shouldn't accept racists, bigots, sexists, anyone of such caliber to make shows. However, saying the Star Wars universe is fused with patriarchy and you need a woman, or that
White people crying actually was the goal.
or having extreme woke politics just for the sake of woke politics, just for the sake of having them in there, is the exact same thing that you're supposedly fighting against. You're racists, you're sexists, and you're bigots. It's just that it's not the standard one. You're racists against white people just because they're white, you're sexist against men, and you're bigots. And if you don't think what I'm saying is true, just go and read a dictionary of the terms that you're so aggressively protecting. And I know this is not going to end. I know that whatever I say or whatever a lot of people say will not change anything. The only way one can change it is by doing or not doing something that directly impacts the show's success. In my case, I have given up. I have given up on Star Wars. I will not watch anything else from Star Wars that comes out in the recent or the far future ahead, because it has thoroughly disappointed me. This video represents the last bits of my anger that I had towards the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars franchise, and now I'm only left with apathy. I will not care at all what happens, who says what, who produces what, who puts out what. I don't care if they actually make the Force into a living being and it's a transgender, trans metal, trans anything, 5-legged lesbian man with 5 tits or whatever. I don't care. I don't care what you're gonna do, because I don't care at all. I'm not going to watch anything. I will not give you the precious attention that you so much crave. I will not waste another minute of my time watching or talking about your franchise. It's done. This is what you have left me with, and I'm pretty sure after the Acolyte a lot more people will be left with the same feeling, and just like in Merlin, you will be forgotten. You would be abandoned and nobody will care what you do, nobody will care what you produce, and you will fail on every corner. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment and leave a like. If you enjoy my content and want to see more, click the subscribe button, follow me on my other socials, support me on Patreon. I'll have it set up and figure it out in a very short time. And until then, cheers and stay fresh. Bye.